everybody. Let's put them in the win column NBA style this weekend. Scott Spretzel here with Doug Upstone. We are DocSports.com. We're talking NBA playoff series round one, the Heat and the Bucks. Milwaukee laying about $3 in this series. Come back on Miami as of Thursday afternoon around plus 250. And I'm going to start by saying this, Doug. Last season's Miami Heat were a better version than this season's Miami Heat. Milwaukee's team last season, going into the playoffs, wasn't as good as this team this year at this time going into the playoffs. Yet the Bucks are a smaller favorite this time around and by a significant amount. What say you, sir?
Well, I'll disagree with you on the one aspect. I don't necessarily think this is a better Bucks team. And for the most part, the numbers, bear that out. They did make some, good additions, Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker. But here's my problem, Scott, with the Bucks, and we'll get into the picks here. One of the biggest weaknesses of this team is and has been increasingly so, and this year was the coup de grace, if you will, 3-point shooting defense. Okay, they were always great rim protectors, with their size and everything else, but they would give up the threes. Well, because of how the game has changed in the NBA with 3-point shootings, such a high volume today. This season, the Bucks were 29th in 3-point field goal percentage defense, and they gave up the most threes per game at almost 15 per game. Okay, so to my way of thinking, I think the line's actually probably accurate. Now, from there, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I thought Milwaukee last year in the postseason, the problem for them, they were great at stopping the Jimmy Butlers of the NBA on a basketball team. They did a really good job on getting in those guys' jerseys, so to speak, on the deep perimeter. But then they would let maybe the third guy on the team go off. It's like they weren't paying us. Like Jay Crowder last postseason ate them from, he had their lunch. He took it from them. He slapped them across the face. He ate their lunch. He took their dinner and everything else. The cool thing for Milwaukee is Jay Crowder now plays in Phoenix, so you don't have to worry about him. And Dragic isn't playing as well as at that level, at least. I'm not going to say he's not playing well, but he's not playing at the level he was last year when they headed into the postseason in the bubble. And I know Miami over the last dozen games or so are playing their best offensive basketball of the season. But Milwaukee's been a steady top 6, top 7 all year when it comes to offensive efficiency. They do struggle at times against zone defenses. They did it last year. They did it this year. But again, I think a process of elimination kind of helps this team out. I think they gained by letting a few of those guys who were getting a lot of minutes off the bench. They gained this year from having those guys depart. It gives the Milwaukee coaching staff less players to have to think to go deep when it comes to an important game. That means you rely on your superstars more. And, not too many people have a guy at the level of the Greek Freak. And so I think he's going to be a guy that they're going to be relying on even more than if they would have had the same team from last year playing this postseason. And you mentioned Drew Holiday, a great pickup. I love Drew Holiday. That's basically what kept the Greek Freak in Milwaukee. And if you watch over the past, 5 or 6 weeks, and I'm not the first one that has said this in the last couple of days, but watch over the last 5 or 6 weeks and check out the amount of pick and rolls Holiday and the Freak are starting to run and run extremely well. So that's for me, and I get what you're saying. You're right. They're not good against the three, but again, I think they're better because of what Holiday and the Freak are doing, the chemistry that they've got going heading into the playoffs. So listen, I'll wrap it up my end of it, and then we'll get your end of it here by saying Milwaukee in 6. I really think they're going to get this 4-2.
Yeah, well, in that regard, yes, I do agree with you. I think there's enough there to fear the deer. Let's put it that way. Whether it be 6 games, whether it be 7 games, however it plays out. It's just, the Miami, because the other thing I like about Miami, and more so, or I should say a negative towards Milwaukee, Eric Spoelstra against Boldenhauser. Okay, I think, I don't know if it's a complete mismatch, but as the coaching this time of year is so important, and that's one thing that is often overlooked, unless by people like ourselves, that are doing this, and obviously other experts. But I think that there's enough talent there. I think that, as you mentioned, the Greek Freak, I think he can get the job done. it won't be easy, I don't think. And that's why, for besides the series, like in game one, and looking at that one, I'm going to pass on game one and let the outcome of game one dictate my selection for game two. I think I'll just handle it that way. So yeah, so Scott, we're coming at it from a little different angle, but we're on the same page. Ultimately, the Bucks are the play.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I do that a lot. Not in every series, but I do that a lot. More than half of the series, I'm not involved in game one usually. More than half of the series that we get over the course of the last 20 years of doing this stuff, I kind of like to wait and see what happens in game one and go from there. So, but again, I like Milwaukee in the series. It's kind of funny. I thought of something as you were talking about, you're going to look to see what happens in game one, take some notes and use that in your game two play if you play game two. But it reminded me of something that we just blindly played in the NBA playoffs recently. And then the books just totally overcompensated, overadjusted. And that was NBA teams down 0-2 in the playoffs. And then they're going home and you would play them first quarter, first half. And it was a ridiculous winning percentage. And it lasted for a while. I mean, I'm going to say off the top of my head, 6, 7 seasons. And we used to have just a couple of years ago when I was doing local radio in Vegas every day, we'd have guest sportsbook directors on, and they were talking about it ain't going to last, it ain't going to last. And now you'll see a game that might be a -6 game, and it's -5 first half. You want to talk about adjusting. So it's not that automatic play anymore. I just happen to, it has nothing to do with the series, but just happen to think about that off the top of my head while you're talking. So sounds like we're both going with the Bucks in the series though, Doug.
For sure we are. Let's get it done.
All right, guys. And don't forget that $60 free account if you're not yet a member over at DocSports.com. Just want to give it a trial run. It's a cool way to do it. You click on the link below the video, get yourself set up for that free $60 account, and you can use them on any of Doug's daily packages, mine or anybody else on the roster at DocSports.com. He's Doug. I'm Scott. Let's put him in the win column.